Always keep cabbage in my refrigerator. I never go without having cabbage in our refrigerator because I find it stays fresh the longest. So whenever, even if I'm not making sauerkraut, I can keep it in a little fresh container, and you know, we're just adding an extra color to our salad. I just take a wedge out and just add it to my salad. So I'm gonna make about 2.5 pounds. So I have the directions on my website, also on my Instagram page, and I'll just explain to you. What do you think are the ingredients in sauerkraut? Anybody have any clue what the ingredients are in sauerkraut?
Cabbage and salt.
Cabbage and salt. You'd be surprised though how many people think vinegar, right? They all think, a lot of times people think it's gonna be vinegar, but it's not. So it's just cabbage and salt, so it's so simple. So in the ratio is the important part of when it comes to making how much salt you need to how much cabbage you need. So the ratio is, and there's actually plenty of little calculators online that you can put how many pounds you have in and it'll tell you how much salt you need. But the ratio is about 1.5 teaspoons to 2 teaspoons per pound. That's what it comes out to about. Per pound is what you need. So if you don't have a scale at home, that's okay. When you go to Sprouts or wherever you go, whatever food market you go to, since we use almost every piece of that cabbage, when you're weighing that, you know, on the machine, you'll know how much it is. So I knew this morning that this was going to be 2.5 pounds. So I'm going to put about 2 tablespoons of salt in here. So here's all my, I mean, that was the hard part. When it comes to like making sauerkraut, that was when you're making sauerkraut, you want non-iodized salt. So not one with iodine in it. If you put the iodine in it, it's not gonna ferment. So those are like just a couple of mistakes that maybe somebody would make. So I've got a tablespoon of salt in here.
So like a Himalayan Celtic salt is absorbed.
Yeah, it's fine. I've done it with all of those, you know.
So
and
no table salt, no Morton's.
No. I mean, you could, but make sure that it was the non-iodine one. No, non-iodized one. So now here's the thing is we're gonna massage cabbage. And now if I didn't want to do this, I wouldn't have to do this, but it's gonna speed up the process because it's gonna make that salt break down into this brine a little bit quicker. So, and while I do this, I'm gonna just talk about some fermented foods. So in that way we aren't gonna waste any time and we're still gonna learn while I'm massaging this cabbage. So fermented foods. People will say, like I said, why do we have to eat fermented foods? What is good for our gut and why is it good for our gut? And you can think of fermented foods as that good gut bacteria that we need. And I love the analogy of the fish. I don't know if you've ever heard about the goldfish bowl, but like think of fermented foods, probiotics. Those are probiotics. Miso, kimchi, yogurt, sauerkraut, kombucha, kefir. All of those things are probiotics for our gut. Those are like the fish that are swimming around in a fish bowl. The problem is if you neglect your fish, what's going to happen to them? They die. So what's going to help feed those little probiotic fish? Anyone? Prebiotics. Those are going to be those plant foods that that's why it's so important to have a variety of plants, because all of those plant foods, you know, arugula, Jerusalem hearts, those are all really great, but just in general, plants are going to help feed that good bacteria, and it's going to keep your gut healthy. And in return, it's going to make your mind clear. Again, it's that whole, so when we're really stressed and anxious, we could have really bad bacteria in our gut, and that's what's causing the stress and anxiety of coming out even more. So it's really this vicious cycle that we just get in and we can't get out of. So probiotics are helpful over the counter. Make sure if you're buying a probiotic, make sure it's refrigerated, because if you think about it, you want to make sure that that bacteria that you're buying is alive. And another thing you could do is you can use to make, like, if you want to know if your probiotic that you're buying is still like active, you can like make a yogurt strain by using sugar with a probiotic, and if it ferments or if it, it grows, it's alive. So we used to do that and make like homemade yogurt with cashews, and we would use a probiotic as the starter. So it's just but really it's beneficial to have your probiotics from your food. And again, it's the diversity factor that we want to make sure that we're getting lots of different probiotics a day, not just I eat yogurt every day. Great. So, making sure you have that kimchi with your eggs, or with your dinner. If you're having fish tacos, have some sauerkraut. So, okay, so this is about done. This is the hardest, this is probably the hardest part of the job, is to do this. I always make sure that so now I'm just gonna stick it in this big jar. I love mason jars, just like food storage when it comes to the tools that I use, and just making sure that it's a good choice. This is how I store a lot of my foods. My dressings are in mason jars, and then I keep all my pickled products in here also, and my yogurt. So whenever I see them on sale, I'm always buy wide mouth ones. It's gonna be a lot better for you. Okay, so, all right, here's the different color. You could do this with, the green cabbage also. I'm probably, when I get home, I wasn't sure how much sauerkraut this would make, so I'll probably put it in a smaller jar when I get home, because this one's a little too big. I like them to be up nice and into the top of it. It just makes it easier. So what I'm gonna do, and I'm not gonna waste the time right now. Hold on one second. Is that I wanna make sure that I get all the sauerkraut off of the sides into the bottom, and I'm just gonna release that juice and bring it up. So then I'm taking these fermenting lids. This has a little water in it, just spring water, with this little lid, and as you can smell that, it's smelling like sauerkraut, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this fermenting lid on top. You can buy these on Amazon in a 6-pack for about $12, $15. There's different types of ones you can get. You can get ones with weights on them. This is just one that I prefer to use. And I'm gonna put this on every single day now. I'm going to go like this. And you see how much more juice is in here. So what this is doing is this is actually part of the fermentation process, is me pushing down and bringing those bubbles up is helping it ferment. So just once a day, all I do, keep it on my counter, have that lid on, and in 10 days to 2 weeks, it will be like this. So I always keep about one full one in my refrigerator, and we just have it with, just like I said, a spoonful, but we just love it. I mean, it does have a salty taste to it, so it's probably a little saltier than you would get maybe at the grocery store. But again, now it's not been sitting in plastic, like the ones that even the organic ones that you're buying. And honestly, I get so much more out of this than I do, like there's so much juice in the ones you buy that you're really only getting a very little bit amount. This was $4. This is organic cabbage to make. This will last my house for a good month or two. Like in the refrigerator before we eat it. It would last 6 months. Yeah.
That lid, does it come looking like that?
Yeah, well, it breaks down. So it's a lid, and then you put this little rubber thing on, and then it has this. This just has like it's helping it release gases. It's just creating a gas exchange.
So there's no hole in
There is a hole.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, there is.
It doesn't come with water.
It comes like that, and it has this. So, and you can just put those on. And like I said, tomorrow,
You need that. You really need that as part of the process.
you can do it the old-fashioned way. They didn't have those 1,000 years ago, but they would use like a glass weight in here and help with it, and put it like a lid on that's not completely sealed, because you have to let air come through.
So is there a specific temperature? You just like covered at room temperature?
I just keep it on my counter. If it's a warmer house in the summertime, it's going to ferment faster than in the winter. So if it's like 68 degrees in my house, it might take 2 weeks to ferment.
So summertime, probably about 5 days?
I would still say I would do 10 to make it taste the way I want it to taste. Sometimes I dig in at 7 days and then I just put, and then we're still fermenting it, so we're eating it as we're doing it because we just can't wait.
Now I've been told that the juice we use, it gets a little effervescence in it. You can almost drink it as a wine.
I have.
He has not been told.
I have not tried that yet, but I will believe you, James. I will believe you, you know? And if you would like to partake in some, I will be happy to pour you a large glass of it later, you know? But, you know, just like look at the difference in the color that it's gonna be after, you know, a couple weeks. So people are afraid to do these fermenting things. They think, oh my gosh, you know, this is, you know, well, not even too much work, but they're afraid. Like they're afraid that, you know, oh my gosh, sitting on my counter for 2 weeks, this cannot be healthy. People have been doing this for thousands of years. They were a lot smarter than we were back then. So we're trying to get back to those days again. So does anybody have any